Ferguson transfer saga, as well as the departure of the Scotland squad for their friendly in Saudi Arabia. Here's Don Lindsay.
Rangers this afternoon completed the signing of St Mirren's under-21 international Ian Ferguson for a fee understood to be at least £1 million. Ferguson put pen to paper at Ibrox after hours of delicate negotiations involving Rangers, the Love Street directors, Ferguson and his agent, the former Celtic boss David Hay. It's the final episode in the 3-month-long saga of will he, won't he, will he join the Gers. Back in November, Ferguson was in no doubt what he wanted to do.
And it's a team I've always supported as a boy, and you can't beat it. It's a big club, and no disrespect to St Mirren are a small club compared to Rangers, and it's a team I'd love to play for. It's a higher standard of football. I think I could do a job for Rangers, and I'd just love to play for them.
Well, Ferguson is tonight travelling north to join the rest of the Scotland under-21 squad who play England in the European Championships tomorrow night. Under-21 manager Craig Brown said Ferguson would not start the game, but was likely to get a place on the bench. Meanwhile, Scotland's international squad flew to Saudi Arabia this morning for Wednesday's World Cup warm-up match in Riyadh. Despite a series of call-offs over the weekend, the players were in a confident mood.
News of the record transfer of Ian Ferguson to Rangers, rugby's oldest news.
Ian Ferguson has signed for Rangers for a fee of £850,000, a record between two Scottish clubs. The under-21 internationalist asked St Mirren for a transfer in November, but was turned down. The St Mirren board reconsidered last week after a dramatic slump in league form and a home defeat by Clydebank in the Scottish Cup. Rangers manager Graham Souness said he was delighted that what he called a messy transfer was complete. Ferguson's introduction, he said, would give the Ibrox team several options, but he'd have to win his place first. St Mirren manager Alex Ferguson said said it would be easy to blame transfer speculation as the sole reason for his team's poor form. His priority now is to bring new players to the club in a bid to start winning again. Well, St Mirren's most significant winning streak ended at Hampden last May when Ian Ferguson's goal lifted the Scottish Cup.
Great run by Ferguson here, can he put it away out? Ian Ferguson, one chance in the game, and St Mirren are in the lead. As we watch this again, Ferguson rattling that in, brilliantly taken goal.
Well, the Scottish football squad will arrive in Riyadh shortly for Wednesday's World Cup warm-up against Saudi Arabia. This morning's flight was delayed after SFA Secretary Ernie Walker was involved in a car crash. He arrived late, uninjured. 5 players named in the original squad were unable to travel, but a late call-up for Celtic's Frank McAvenny should aid the striking problem. Andy Roxburgh's chosen a match against an awkward country hard to beat on their own baked soil. He's taken not only established internationalists like Jim Leighton, but also their deputies who can benefit from the experience. One man who'll gain his first cap is John Cahoon. Donald of Hearts are among the Premier League managers travelling with the party. Missing are Ali McCoist, Brian McClare and Graham Sharp through injury. Only Frank McAvenny has been drafted in. Now,
a record breaker, Ian Ferguson, seems certain to play an important part in tonight's under-21 international against England in Aberdeen. Ferguson, who signed for Rangers yesterday, is listed as one of Scotland's substitutes for the match at Pittodrie.
The transition of 20-year-old Ferguson from Rangers fan to Rangers player dragged on for so long there seemed little left to say when the signing saga came to an end. His immediate future decided, he joined the preparations in Aberdeen for the under-21 version of the Scotland-England International. No one watching was left in any doubt about Ferguson's desire to play a part in the Scottish quest for a place in the European Championship semi-finals. Tonight's quarter-final first leg is likely to pull an impressive crowd, in contrast to recent under-21 matches.
I understand that almost 20,000 tickets have been sold tonight. I hope that's true, but in previous matches there's been slight apathy, as you say. You know, in our games in Edinburgh and in Falkirk, the crowds were, 4,000 or 5,000. But against England, any Scotland team playing England brings out the crowd. And this is a tremendously exciting under-21 team.
What are the prospects of Rangers' new acquisition Ian Ferguson seeing some action tonight?
Well, you saw Ian this morning, and I think you would agree that he was very, very lively and from that point of view, I think it's only fair to suggest that he'll be on the bench tonight. And I think if we unleash him, he'll be supercharged in the match tonight.
But all eyes won't be on the bench. Rangers' Ian Durrant is one of the top talents in British football, and teenager Terry Wilson from Whitburn has claimed a place in the Nottingham Forest team, and even Brian Clough struggles to contain his admiration for the player.
And they've got a good night for it, but just before the weather forecast.
In the fourth round of the Scottish Cup, Celtic tonight are favourites to go the whole way to victory at Hampden in May, I should say. Meanwhile, fresh from their victory over France, Scotland's rugby players.
And first, the Scottish Cup, and 7 out of the 8 matches will be played tomorrow. The other, Celtic versus Hibs, goes on at Parkhead on Sunday. And more on Celtic in a moment. But those then are the fourth round ties, and I'll give you the bookies' thoughts as we go along. Airdrie play Dundee United. United will win that, say the bookies. Celtic play Hibs, and Celtic are 3-1 on favourites there. Clydebank are tipped to beat Thistle. Dundee are tipped to beat Motherwell. Rangers are priced at 11-4 on to beat Dunfermline. Clyde and Aberdeen are tipped to beat East Stirling and Hamilton. And Hearts are 7-2 on to beat Morton. Celtic play Hibs on Sunday, and clearly the Parkhead men are well in the mood to go all the way to Hampden Park in May. For Celtic, things couldn't be better right now. In the league, the Parkhead men are 3 points clear of their great rivals Rangers with a game in hand. Now they're favourites to lift the Scottish Cup, and this morning the Celtic senior squad prepared for the only cup match scheduled for Sunday with Hibs the opposition. Celtic manager Billy McNeill clearly has his sights set on cup glory.
We'd love to win the cup in any year, Jim. Let's not make any mistakes about that. But certainly it would be nice this year. We talked about that before the cup started. We said, right, let's get to the cup final in May. To do that, we've got to win 1 or 2 cup finals before then. We managed to win the first one. It's now up to the second one. It's all in the lap of the gods. We're playing well, and the lads are good. Nothing's impossible for the moment. They're prepared not to lose sight of the fact that the game lasts 90 minutes, as we showed at Dundee last week. They're doing well, and they're battling hard. They're just the little worries that I've got. I've got Anton Rogan, who played last week, who's still in Greece with the Irish team, and we've got the problem with Andy Walker. But it's not bad. We'll get by, I'm quite sure.
So Celtic big favourites to put Hibs out of the cup on Sunday. Back in October, the points were shared in the league.
Nick McCarthy is signalling in the box. Roy Aiken is also there. Derek White has gone to the near post area. Chance is on, it's played in by Walker, and Celtic are ahead. It's picked up now by Collins for Hibs. Wallace is on the ground, it's inside to Watson. That's the equaliser. That's the goal which Hibs have been threatening for so long.
Rangers, meanwhile, travel to Fife to meet Dunfermline. Now, the bookies make the Ibrox men second favourites to lift the cup. The Pars, meanwhile, were forced to go to a replay in the last round against Ayr, but they won well at Somerset Park.
So, Ali McCoy's very doubtful for Rangers tomorrow, and that's a problem for them. And I know Jim Leishman, as you spoke last night on this station, is winding his players up at St Andrews at this very moment. But Rangers can't afford to get into another replay situation as they did with Raith Rovers. They've got the European Cup coming up week after next, and they'll want to get this one out of the way. I think they'll get through. Mark Walter's in tremendous form at the moment, so too is Ray Wilkins. That should be enough for Rangers.
Rangers is too strong for Dunfermline, do you think, Jerry?
I think so. They had a very good result last week, winning 4-0, and a lot of confidence now oozing through the side at the right time.
Jerry, Celtic tipped to beat Hibs and tipped by the bookies to go all the way and win the cup, and you go along with that, don't you?
Yes, I tipped them there a few weeks ago. And if you look through the list, Dundee United going to Airdrie, that's a difficult ground for them, but I think United will get through. Maybe Motherwell will take Dundee back to Fir Park, and Aberdeen will have to watch Hamilton out there, Douglas Park. No Jim Bett tomorrow, he's injured. David Dodds should play.
Well, Jerry, briefly, the cup apart, welcome back. How was Saudi Arabia?
Well, it was a long journey. I think, quite frankly, too long for the players. And we come back, you know, to land at Rhodes and it was closed. And then Athens, they were on strike. We made a run for Brindisi in the south of Italy. It's not much fun up above the Mediterranean, you know. 2 gallons left in the tank looking for a petrol station.
You're safely home. Jerry, thanks. And our rugby...
Scottish Cup matches and a report on weekend ski conditions. Here's Bill McFarlane.
Well, Scotland continue their bid for rugby's Five Nations Championship against Wales at Cardiff tomorrow. Football at the weekend in search of a place in the quarter-finals. Celtic in their centenary year would dearly like to win the Scottish Cup. Their tie with Hibs at Parkhead on Sunday will attract a huge crowd as the league leaders take on the rapidly improving Edinburgh side. Tomorrow, Rangers travel to East End Park to meet Dunfermline. It took 2 attempts for the Ibrox team to eliminate that other plucky five-side, Raith Rovers. On that occasion, Mark Walters paved the way to victory.
There's Durant again, finding Mark Walters. Oh, yes! That was a delightful goal by Mark Walters.
But Dunfermline can score against top opposition, as they showed in last week's friendly with the French champions Bordeaux. Ross Jack the scorer after Mark Smith cut through the French defence. One of the most attractive ties gives First Division leaders Hamilton home advantage over Aberdeen, winners of the Cup 4 times in the last 6 years. Scholars may tell you this is the meeting between the academical and the Dons, and those who've done their homework would point out that Hamilton have produced Cup surprises in the past. In 1935, they made it all the way to Hampden.
Rain keeps down the usual big attendance at Hampden Park, Glasgow, for the titbit of the Scottish soccer season. But nevertheless, 87,000 turn out to see Glasgow Rangers and Hamilton Academicals fight out the final of the Scottish FA Cup. The Ackies are not at all overawed by the reputation of their opponents, and in spite of lack of experience, strike their fast, progressive game.
Rangers finished 2-1 winners, but 52 years later at Ibrox, Hamilton pulled off the biggest shock in 2 decades when Adrian Sprott knocked Rangers out the cup.
I think it was really Sunday before it really hit me. Saturday was a bit of a blur. All the publicity and reporters and everybody wanting to speak to you and congratulate you. It all seemed to a bit of a blur. Sunday I woke up and sunk in.
Tomorrow, Aberdeen face an uphill struggle at Douglas Park. After all, there's a 6-foot slope from one end to the other. There's also Ackies' form to consider as front-runners in the First Division Championship. On the rather flatter Muirton Park surface, Aberdeen struggled to overcome Second Division St Johnstone in the last round.
But given the circumstances, it would be a tragedy if St Johnstone were to lose it now. And it's almost in its there. And it looks as if they have lost it at corner. Put that in.
Aberdeen have the best cup record of any side this decade, having lifted the trophy 4 times in the past 6 years. This the first of 3 goals against Hearts in the 1986 Cup final.
John Jewett will try the shot on. He does, and he scored brilliantly.
Certainly the Scottish Cup looks, I mean, possibly our best chance at this moment in time. And obviously we face a difficult tie at Hamilton.
The Aberdeen front line is likely to face 18-year-old Alan Ferguson in goal. His job in the ground staff normally requires polish of a different type as he cleans the team's boots. Manager Lambie has faith in the teenager and in the spirit of his team.
We live in hope, and as I says, you only get one chance, one crack at the whip against these big lots, and I feel it's Saturday's our chance. We've got to do it on Saturday.
The mild weather has forced it
to. But the biggest story of the week has been Rangers' £1 million signing of Ian Ferguson, the man who won the Scottish Cup for St Mirren last season. Ferguson, though, is cup-tied for today's match against Dunfermline at East End Park, and that has got to help the Fifers, who have had very little to shout about since those halcyon days of the 60s.
Out come Celtic in their ring shirts, ready for the replay at Hampden Park. Dunfermline in striped shirts were equally resolved to get a favourable result this time. Dunfermline won the toss, and perhaps this was a good omen. After that no-goal draw, of course, Celtic were not such hot favourites for the Cup. They showed up well, however, in the early phase of the match, while 87,000 spectators shouted encouragement or advice. Presently, counter-attacking, Dunfermline were rewarded in the 67th minute with a goal by Thompson. Celtic came back strongly, but the Fifers kept them out. And finally, 2 minutes from time, Dunfermline got another, scored by Dixon. So there it was, the Cup for Dunfermline. A triumph indeed, the first time they'd won the Scottish Cup final this century. A magnificent effort.
Well, Ian, as a Scot, you'll know that it was that cup win which launched a young Jock Stein on an unsuspecting soccer world. And here at the home of golf, St Andrews, another Dunfermline boss is preparing for more cup glory, this time against Rangers. Jim Leishman may have a team trying to survive in the Premier League, but Rangers hold no terrors for him or his team. And like Steen, he believes in class. He says, we may not have a £7 million team, but I believe in my boys feeling like millionaires. And this week they have, in a town still haunted by ghosts of the past. The Old Course Hotel, St Andrews, usually plays host to such as Nicholas, Ballesteros and Trevino. Golfing greats both old and new adorn the walls, and Leishman hopes the fame will touch his men in their preparations for their biggest cup tie in years. Leishman is one of the game's great characters. His players have been serenaded country and western style before matches, and no team talk would be the same without a poetry reading.
Right, lads, as usual, I've got a wee poem for the Rangers match, so if you sit with us for a minute, and I'll go through it.
No.
Oh Lord, we know the dangers. Each time you go and play the Rangers. Dunfermline 2, the Rangers 1. What a thrill to beat the Souness man.
At times too, Dunfermline can be poetry in motion, like in the last round replay at Ayr.
Back to Smith again. There's Jack. There's the open goal. Superbly stuck by Jack. Mark Smith now, 2 against 2. He has Trevor Smith up with him. Smith going all the way himself. He's brought down. That is a penalty. Trevor Smith against George Watson. A valiant effort by the keeper, but Dunfermline goal 2 in front.
It's a fun game and you look at it from the fun point of view, but it's not all fun. It's a serious matter.
Very serious, Jim. Football's my life. Dunfermline Football Club's my life, and definitely a serious matter. I try to relax the players and make them feel we're here relaxing before the big game to get away from the pressure. But Saturday, it's a very, very serious business.
That's right. Has being here in the luxury of St Andrews, has it done much for the boys? Are they in the right frame of mind?
Yes, when you look at the Rangers team, they cost possibly £5 to £6 million, and my team costs £350,000. But we're trying to make them feel as important as the £5 million team.
What serious chance do you have, Jim, of toppling Souness's men?
I wouldn't turn up on Saturday if I don't think we're at home. We've got a huge support. If I didn't think that we would win, not just beat Rangers, but beat any team. We've beat Celtic. We've played Rangers away from home. I think we've got a chance of beating them. We've got 11 men on the park at 3 o'clock against their 11. And cup games, sometimes the underdogs have been known to pull through. If I don't think we had a chance, I wouldn't turn up Saturday.
Jim, we've seen how the boys reacted to some of your poetry. I believe you have a short poem for the viewers.
Yes, Jim. The jars, you know, cost quite a few bob. But my lads, I know, can do the job. You've gathered by now a point I ain't. So I'll hand you back to Greavsie and Saint.
Well, it's unusual, Jim, isn't it, to find a football manager who behaves like that, and he seems like a real character.
Actually, he seems the type of fella you'd love to have played under. I mean, real sort of
one of the
old school who really enjoys and lives very much for the game
and loves his club. Loves his club. Now, when you think about it, Jim, Wraith Rovers took Rangers to 2 games.
Yeah.
The Ackies knocked him out last year. I mean, Rangers can't be going up there feeling very confident, can they?
Not at all. It's a cup tie, and we know it's cup week, and anything can happen. And I mean, with respect, and I don't really want to sort of say I hope Rangers get beat, because there's lots of them all over the place, those supporters, isn't there? But it would be nice to see Dunfermline win, wouldn't it?
It would be lovely. Big match up there tomorrow, Jim, a televised game, Celtic against Hibs. That's another super game. Your team, the Ackies, have got Aberdeen.
I know. Well, we won't go too far into that. Yeah.
Well, from the Scottish Cup, Jim, to the Spanish Cup. Now, John Toshak's team, Real Sociedad, had the most magnificent result in midweek against Real Madrid in the Bernabeu Stadium in Madrid. Now, they were a goal up from the first leg of the semi-final, and they went there and hammered them.
I know, I mean, this must be one of the most freak results of all time.
Well, we're talking shocks maybe in Scotland, you know, maybe shocks in England.
Well, there you are. This proves it.
Cup football.
You've got Real Madrid who are favourites for the European Cup.
Correct.
And here they are getting well and truly lambasted at home in the Cup semi-final. And only having been a goal down in the first leg.
I'm sure there's a lot of players watching this who are supposed underdogs today and looking at that and saying, well, you know, if they can go to the Bernabeu Stadium and hammer Real Madrid 4, then everybody's got a chance in football.
Well, the whole key to cup football, and we're seeing perfect examples of it now, is that if these teams go, the lesser teams go to the bigger clubs, determined to make things happen, not to be afraid of the opposition, which is the key to it, isn't it? They can make things happen. And if things go their way, then, as you well know, it's very hard for the better teams.
It certainly is, Jim. Well, that's it for this week. Don't miss Elton Wellesby with all the cup results at 4:45. We'll see you next Saturday.
Set of round 4. Later in the programme, the quarter-final draw.
It isn't difficult to get motivated for the Cup, so Dunfermline Athletic, even at 150 to 1, didn't need to be reminded that for them, the fourth-round visit of 2 to 1 joint favourites Rangers...
Well, they come out, is that correct? One of our physiotherapists, Pete Yates, had to grab him coming up the stairs. Mark Smith actually collapsed. He's run himself into the ground, Jock, which is amazing. The lad is a super fit lad anyway. He works hard at training, and I think he's gave everything here for the Dunfermline fans, and he's actually fainted. I thoroughly deserved the award, but he's all right, I take it, is that right? Who cares, Jock? We've won, you know.
Souness. Francis. And they all hesitated except for McCoist.
We're very, very disappointed, Bill, to say the least, and Farm as sick as the proverbial parrot, you could say. But obviously my thoughts will go with the boys over in Romania and the game tomorrow against United, so there's nothing I can do about it except wish them all the best.
Well, it's left the club with a serious problem because there is no recognised striker now.
That's right. We've got one or two things up our sleeves, though. We've got players who could play up front and hold the ball up for us and, of course, score goals. So we don't know as yet what the plans will be. But, as I say, we've got one or two things up our sleeve, you could say.
The game against Kiev here achieved some infamous note because of what the goalkeeper did, of course. Can you remember what happened there?
I often watch the rerun of it on videotape, and it's quite incredible. The poor defender doesn't know what's happening. Obviously, you see the goalkeeper shouting to him something in Russian, and he's sort of looking about in a trance, and I was fortunate enough just to nip in and square the ball to Mark, and Mark did the rest.
Having defeated Dynamo Kiev, how difficult was it to anticipate a run against the Poles?
We knew we were going to have a tough game against Gornik, and we brought them here to Ibrox for the first leg, and with a fabulous start, and we were 3-0 up in the first half, and obviously they came into the game in the second half a little bit and scored the goal. But we felt confident enough going over to Gornik with a 3-1 lead, and that was the way it worked out. We got a nice draw over there. I think 5 minutes before half-time, Davy Cooper went in one of his magical runs, and he slid the ball through, and it was a penalty, and I was just happy enough to convert it.
Some thought that around the times of the Kiev and the Gornik matches, Rangers were playing by far the best football of the season. Do you think form has dipped since then?
I don't know if so much if form has dipped. I think we've perhaps had one or two shaky results, which hopefully we can put right. As I say, it's important that we've got a very important league match tomorrow against United, and after that, as soon as that game's finished, we'll have our thoughts concentrated on the game against the Bucharest. So it's going to be very important for us.
And how will you feel watching as an injured spectator?
I'll be rooting for the lads. Obviously, I'll be kicking every ball with them up in the stand, and I just wish them all the best.
Yes, and all our good wishes go with Rangers to Romania, Steaua Bucharest, difficult opponents, and the European champions just 2 years ago. For what's been happening
before facing Rangers in the Cup. And at the time, you know, I don't think that they really appreciated it.
Oh Lord, we know the dangers. Each time you go and play the Rangers. Dunfermline 2, the Rangers 1. What a thrill to beat the Souness man.
I say it worked though, didn't it? They couldn't get away from him quick enough to get out and play against them, could they?
But we had warned them. We warned Rangers.
We did.
Last week we said, you know, that they'd got 2 tough games with Raith Rovers. They got knocked out of the cup last year by Hamilton Accies.
Yeah.
You know, and that this Dunfermline game was going to be a tough one.
And tough it was.
Oh, it certainly turned out. That's the way it turned out. And I wonder if Jim had a poem for after the match.
Oh.
Dunfermline opening up with a very interesting defensive lineup. They have 3 central defenders, Norrie McCarthy, Vitte Anderson and John Holt, marking the 2 front men for Rangers, Durant and Cooper, allowing the full-backs, Graham Robertson and Bobby Smith, to do a marking job on Mark Walters and Derek Ferguson wide in the midfield for Rangers. But here's Mark Smith, his first run of the match. An awkward one, it's in! Woods has beaten Mark Smith, puts Dunfermline ahead, and there are 5 minutes on the clock. And click on, there's Watson! 3 minutes into the second half. Watson makes it 2-0, and Rangers are now staring defeat in the face.
I mean, it was a cracking first goal, that, wasn't it?
Oh, it's unstoppable. I don't know whether he meant it or whether he meant to cross it, but it's an unstoppable shot, isn't it?
I think it was a cross,
anyone can do. Yeah. Oh, so do I.
Yeah. But Rangers, Jim, have got to pick themselves up. The semi-final tie against Steaua Bucharest on Wednesday. And now that is a big one. Now, Stevie Archibald has played, obviously, against Steaua for Barcelona, and he had this to say about them.
They were very, very professional. I think in the 2-leg affair, I think that they'll have to do something in their own country, and then if they do something there, they'll come to Ibrox and defend. They won't attack. They won't come in and open their doors. They'll be a strong defensive outfit.
Were you impressed with their technique in the game?
The players they're all skillful players. They all put their foot in. They're not afraid. They're physically prepared for the game, and they're experienced, and that's a lot to cope with.
They were European champions 2 years ago, Steaua Bucharest, so it'll be a tough game.
Well, it's going to be a tough one, Jim. And I said the semi-final, it's actually the quarter-final. I've got Rangers in the semis already.
Hopefully, hopefully.
Well, as Stevie said, they're a warning for Rangers, and the ITV viewers can see just how prophetic Steve Archibald is for the whole of that Steaua Bucharest Rangers quarter-final tie, live on ITV Wednesday afternoon at 12:55. And our best wishes to Graham Souness and his men in that tie. Well, in midweek, Rangers' great rivals Celtic had to battle for their cup lives in a replay with Hibs at Easter Road. Well, it's been won by Luke Gifford, who's a 16-year-old.
Big Ibrox travelling support wondering where Rangers' goals might come from. Ian Durant was a distinct possibility.
High ball from Jimmy Nicholl. Ian Durant!
Then south, and hoik, dizzy heights of last season, Dundee United have been just about the most frustrating and frustrated side in the Premier Division this season. But whoever wished Jim McLean a happy new year obviously held some influence. United are unbeaten in 88 with only 1 goal scored against them. So they certainly weren't ideal opposition for a Rangers side trying to put the cup defeat at Dunfermline behind them and maintain a challenge for the Premier title and the European Cup despite injury and suspension worries. The spring-like sunshine was a little misleading. A fresh wind and a bumpy pitch made it tricky for the players, one of whom, Ian Ferguson, made his long-awaited Rangers debut, as Derek Ray describes. Of the spoils.
I think so, yes. Looking back on last week, we never performed very well at Dunfermline. And it takes a big team to come back, and especially come here to Dundee United and get a point, and I think we played very well today.
Young Ian Ferguson, a good debut, I would think.
Yes, I think Ian, as well as us, we were very pleased with the way he played. It's not easy to come into a Rangers side and play. There's a lot of support against him, and he got told he was a waste of money quite a few times, which we're very pleased to have him with us. I'm sure he'll be a big asset to Rangers Football Club.
Were you aware at Ibrox this week of a lot of pressure building up, particularly for this game today after the bad result last week and the problems with injuries and suspensions? Was this a very important game?
It was possibly one of the biggest games of the season for us. Looking at the Celtic situation, we couldn't afford to come here and lose today. Celtic have got a victory in the last minute there, I believe, which doesn't do our cause any favours. But we're pleased to come here and get a point and play well. I think the fact that we played well is the main thing, because now we go away and we play a very tough European tie, but full of confidence.
Let me take you on to Bucharest on Wednesday. Obviously, a no-scoring draw, I would imagine, is a good result for Rangers in that situation.
A win would be an excellent result for us. But as you say, no goals would be a super result. But I don't think we can go there with that attitude. Because if we do sit back and just wait for them, I'm sure they've got something up their sleeve for us. It's going to be a very, very tough game for us.
All right. What's the mood in the camp then after this today? Is it very much anticipation?
One of optimism, I think. We've bounced back after a poor performance last week, and we're really looking forward to going away.
Great, Ray. Thanks very much, and all the best from everyone, I'm sure, for Rangers on Wednesday afternoon.
Thank you very much.
On Scottish Rugby.
In Bucharest, and he joins me here in Kirkcaldy to preview the game. First, a reminder of the quality of the company that the Scottish champions are keeping. Look at this for a last 8 lineup. Incidentally, you'll be able to see that Bayern v Real Madrid match in Scott Sport highlights on Wednesday evening. There's not a bad club in these quarter-finals. Well, Rangers have had 2 tough ties already to get this far. In the first round, they played well in Russia against Dynamo Kiev and won the tie at Ibrox. Then, in the second round, they faced Górnik of Poland and rather clinched it in front of their own fans in a stirring first leg.
Nicol challenging. Still all very untidy as Nicol plays the ball across to McCoist! Ali McCoist in the 6th minute! Good shot to Ferguson. Very deft touch that to the side for Francis. There's Grimbolski again. Durant steps in, chance for Rangers. Durant makes it 2. 22 minutes on the clock. And Ibrox erupts once again. Now Ferguson. Souness. Good running again by Durant. A chance for the 3rd. Here's Durant. Played in by Falco. Rangers go 3 ahead.
So the question is, how good are Steaua? Derek Johnson, how good do you think they might be?
Well, they won the European Cup a couple of seasons ago, Ian, and they also won the Super Cup as well, beating...
They were surprising European Cup winners, Steaua, and we don't know an awful lot about them. They're not household names, but I suspect in a fortnight the name of Georgi Hargai will be known the length and breadth of Scotland, because this is him in action. And he has scored 17 goals this season. He's clearly their star man, isn't he, Derek?
Yes, he's a superb player. Obviously a natural left-footed. He goes by these 2 players and showing us how he can strike the ball from 25 yards there.
And, of course, Steaua have had this phenomenal record. I mean, they're 50 games without defeat, and they haven't been beaten since the end of the 85 season, haven't they?
Well, it's an incredible record, and that's the Rangers' task is even going to be harder once we've seen this.
Right.
And this is another magnificent effort. Started in midfield again. It's a lovely chip forward, and here's a magnificent strike again.
He doesn't actually have a lot to do at the end, but I mean the run to get there and find that space is what Rangers will have to watch.
Well, I wouldn't agree with that, Ian. I've seen chances miss from nearer than that. He strikes it perfectly and gives the keeper no chance, really.
So what do you think Rangers' ambitions will be in Bucharest in the first leg?
Well, obviously they'll have to keep it tight. They're looking for a result to bring them back to Glasgow, and I think if they go out there and get a 0 each or a 1-0 defeat, they'll be delighted with that.
Our next bit of action shows another thing they'll have to be aware of, which is simply you can't afford to give away free kicks on the edge of the box against this team. Baloney scores this goal.
Yes, it's superb. 2 touches there, and there's another different player scoring from 25 yards. So it's not only our good friend Haggai that scores, there's 2 or 3 in the team that can also score as well.
I presume that Rangers will be putting in a fair amount of practice defending against that sort of situation.
Yeah. But how can you stop that, Ian?
No.
There's a strike from 25 yards. There's 9 defenders there, but the ball's still in the back of the net.
So that's an indication of the quality that Rangers are facing. Because the problem is that Graham Souness is without 7 players who he could put on the park were it a league match because they're either injured or ineligible. You've put your head on the chopping block. You've given us a team here. You think this is the team that Rangers will be putting out?
Well, with the number of players that are out, he has very limited choices of players. And the team that I would like to think would go out would be Woods in goal with a back 4 of Jimmy Nicol, Richard Gough, Graham Roberts and Stuart Munro. with Avi Cohn playing behind him as a natural sweeper.
And just either Trevor Francis or David Cooper up front.
That's right. I would just leave the one up front to do a bit of running. And obviously in midfield we'd have Durant, Ferguson, Souness and Wilkins.
In a word, what would be a good result?
Well, a good result, but obviously nothing each or a 1-0 defeat. But if they come back with a 1-0 defeat, I think he will be delighted with that.
And finally, on the other big story, Ian Rush for Rangers at 3 million. Is that a runner?
Well, the mind boggles, doesn't it? I think everyone in Scotland would love to see that. They'd have to widen the stadiums again. But there's no problem as far as money goes with Rangers, so who knows?
Derek, have a good time in Bucharest. And, of course, we wish Rangers all the best over there. Here's Arthur.
Thank you, gentlemen. You'll be able to see the whole of that match from Bucharest live in Scott Sport European Special on Wednesday, 12:55. Now to one of
in
the...
Romania late this afternoon for Wednesday's European Cup quarter-final first-leg match against that country's champion, Steaua Bucharest. Meanwhile, Hearts fans have reason to smile tonight. Though John Robertson remains on the transfer list, another big-name player has signed a new contract with the club. Here's Jim White.
Having disposed of Soviet and Polish opposition, Rangers set off to Romania earlier today, where they'll face Steaua Bucharest on Wednesday, a match you can see live on this very channel early on Wednesday afternoon. Rangers trained at Ibrox earlier today before preparing to fly out to Romania from Glasgow. New signing Ian Ferguson travelled with the party, but he, along with John Brown, Jan Bartram and Mark Walters, are ineligible to play against Steaua. Ali McCoist has recovered well after a knee operation. The recovery would indeed be miraculous if he was to appear on Wednesday. Manager Souness himself has been fighting a recurring calf muscle problem, but he trained yesterday and is certain to play in Bucharest. Souness has first-hand experience of Romanian opposition and has said since the club drew Steaua in December that the tie would be hard.
I played, it wasn't Steaua Bucharest, I played Dinamo Bucharest in the semi-final European Cup the last year I was at Liverpool. I know because of the travelling involved and the conditions we'll play in, it'll be a difficult game for us. A game we're going behind what's classed as Iron Curtain. It'll be difficult for us.
Meanwhile, it seems certain that Welshman Ian Rush will wait it out at Juventus until the end of this season before he makes any decision about his future. Now, Rush was linked with Rangers at the weekend, and I believe he'd choose only the Ibrox club should he return to Britain from Italy. But it seems he'll play out the season in Italy before talk of a multi-million-pound move is really firmed up. And finally, there were smiles on the faces of the Hearts directors today following the public fallout and transfer listing of John Robertson last week. This time, a big-name player had struck a deal, allowing him to stay at Tynecastle. Only last week, Hearts chairman Wallace Mercer was breathing fire. Transfer listing striker John Robertson following big pay demands made to the club by the player through his agent.
But we will not be held to ransom. His agent asked me yesterday that Robertson was looking for £1,000 a week and a signing-on fee of £100,000. And if we agreed to that, he would be delighted to sign a 3-year contract. It is obscene.
Today, though, happier times for Hearts. Striker John Cahoon, without the aid of an agent, was pledging himself to the club for another 3 years.
I think Scotland and Hearts in particular is a place to be because we're just about ready to win a trophy. We've threatened the last couple of years. And I don't want to look to down south or further abroad and see Hearts winning something and not being involved, because the supporters have been great to me since I came here, and I really want to be here and win something and be able to be with them.
You say he's been pestered by agents, but might he not have got a better deal out of you if he'd had an agent?
I can assure you, in fact, that my players will be handled on merit and they will get exactly the same terms with or without an agent. If a player feels more confident to pay a fee to an agent, the fact that an agent jumps up and down cuts no ice with us. The player will be offered what we think is appropriate, and there's an element of negotiation. And in Gary Mackay's case, John Cahoon's case, Craig Levine's case, Dave McPherson's case, everyone will get what we think is a reasonable package. And for John Cahoon equally to want to make the statement today obviously pleases us.
Now to Bucharest for their European Cup quarter-final tie on Wednesday. With news of that, a key player extending his contract with Hearts and a bid to buy Ayr United. Here's Bill McFarlane.
Rangers have embarked on their third European Cup trip behind the Iron Curtain this season, but they're without the services of several players either injured or signed after the European deadline. Nevertheless, the party left confident of doing well against the team that won the Champions Trophy just 2 years ago. As with the earlier ties in the Soviet Union and Poland, Rangers are taking their own foot to Romania. On-the-field preparations haven't gone quite so smoothly, with the cruellest blow injury to top scorer Ali McCoist. Manager Graham Souness has shown the team videos of Steaua Bucharest in action, and acting captain Graham Roberts recognises the threat they pose.
Yes, they're very good at home. They're very quick up front. The lad called Hadji, very good player, very skillful, very quick. So we know we've got to be aware of them, but we've got something up our sleeve for them, and like you say, it's over 2 legs. If we can keep them down to 1-0 or hopefully get a goal out there, then we'll be very pleased with that.
I think they have an average home scoring rate of something like 3.8 per game. Does that worry you?
No, nothing worries me. I'm going out there to enjoy myself. It'll be a good game, I'm sure of that. But if we let things like that worry us, then we might as well stay here. So we're just going to go out there. We're going to give it our best shot, and hopefully we'll come back with the right result.
New signings Ian Ferguson and John Brown, together worth £1.25 million, are making the trip for the experience. They were bought after the European deadline and are ineligible for this round of the competition. Well,
And welcome to our European special, a double helping of match action this evening, both games in the European Cup. Rangers in Bucharest against the powerful Romanians, and from Germany, a repeat of last year's stormy semi-final between Bayern Munich and Real Madrid. Looking back on both these matches later in the programme will be Ian Archer and Alec Ferguson, and I'll also have the details behind tonight's score lines from East End this afternoon's European Cup quarter-final first leg tie between Steaua Bucharest and Rangers, with the Ibrox club dramatic.
Not Manchester United. How would you tackle that? What would you say to the players? You're 2 down, how do you go about it?
Yeah, go about it. There's examples there today. A goal in each half, that's all you need to do. You don't worry about trying to get 3 goals. Don't lose a goal, which is really important, because that's you out.
Mm-hmm.
A goal in each half, take it to extra time, and then it's a normal game, and you're on your own ground. You couldn't get a better situation.
That's right.
It's not all gloom and doom, you know. And football's such a funny game that they may get the break the next time, they may get a deflected goal, Rangers. And now you've got to say, can the goalkeeper be as good as Chris Woods on today's performance?
We shall see in a fortnight. Hang around,
Yeah.
because we've got Bayern and Real Madrid coming up later, Alec. Arthur.
Thank you, gentlemen. Hear from you later. Here at home, some important league action tonight, and for the 5th place Dundee, who won last night, move 1 point ahead of Dundee United. The bottom of the Premier League, well, not such a comfortable picture, alas, for Dunfermline. They're now beginning to get cut adrift a little as Falkirk make a genuine push. They're now just 2 points behind Motherwell and everything to play for there at the foot of the Premier League.
Once again at the centre of an off-the-field controversy over an incident involving player-manager Graham Souness. The latest row started on the flight home in midweek from Romania, where Rangers had been playing a European Cup tie. Here's Jim White.
Rangers had just lost 2-0 to Romanian champion Steaua Bucharest and were flying back to Glasgow. During that flight, there appeared to be 2 heated exchanges of words between player boss Graham Souness and Scottish Daily Express sports writer Jerry McNee. The second of these was witnessed by club officials and media men, and that's the one which hit the headlines in 2 newspapers today. It's reported that Graham Souness lost his temper and became abusive. Souness himself today was uncontactable, while Rangers Football Club would make no comment on the matter. Well, Jerry McNee, clearly it was an eventful journey home. What actually happened?
Well, I was very displeased, Jim, that certain information went to an English tabloid, one that very seldom travels with Rangers. That was at the expense of Scottish papers. Now, I told you earlier in the week that I thought Ali McCoist might play in this game. I kept my options open in that. But other Scottish papers blundered in the wrong direction because of misinformation, and I think that was totally wrong. And may I just say that you could fit the Rangers supporters who read this English paper into a phone box.
And you told Graham Souness that in no uncertain terms?
I told him that my newspaper had spent in excess of £500 to send me to Romania. I had accompanied him to Milan the previous week to watch Steaua. I don't expect special treatment, but I do expect my paper to get information.
The Rangers player-manager, Jerry, clearly didn't like your approach. What did he say to you then?
Well, he became very angry and abusive, but I hold no grudge about that. He lost his temper. People do that. But let me just say this to the puffed up, over, people with egos in football. They've got to remember that Richard Nixon once tried to take on the media and he lost, and they do say that the President of the United States is the most powerful man in the world.
On the actual issue itself, on the flight though, Jerry, the players, and Souness included, were no doubt tired and all in, if you like, at the end of that match. I mean, it had been quite a chaotic affair on the pitch that day.
It was indeed. Rangers were totally outplayed in the first half. Very fortunate to come back 2-0 down.
But I mean by that, should you have made your approach when you did?
Well, I thought about it. I gave it long and hard consideration. I decided to make my move then because I was very unhappy about the situation. If I've got something to say, I'll say it.
Relations between the media and Rangers, they're certainly not good. We all know that. Do you think they can be improved?
Well, that's up to Rangers now, I think, quite honestly. I would like to think they will be improved. I had dinner with Graham Souness in London 2 weeks ago tomorrow night. He bought me lunch in Milan the following day. It is indeed a funny old game.
Right, Jerry, that issue apart, let's have a look at the fixtures tomorrow, and there they are. The leader Celtic will play Falkirk, Dundee meet Morton, Dunfermline play Rangers, Hibs meet Dundee United, Motherwell play Hearts, and St Mirren meet Aberdeen. And Jerry, you'd expect Celtic probably to stay 6 points clear at the end of all that.
I think I've got to run up the white flag now in that respect. Celtic are looking very good for the league. They have been the most consistent team this season.
One of the betting isn't such a factor in fixing odds for the Premier League. Celtic now stand at 5-2 on favourites for the title. Rangers now 6 points behind and 9-4. Aberdeen are 18-1 and Hearts a very generous 33-1. The fact that Celtic still have to travel to Pittodrie, Ibrox and Tynecastle has clearly been taken into account, but presumably their form against the top clubs so far was part of that calculation.
The Champions Cup is to actually win it this season, but every league point is vital to keep them in touch with Celtic.
Ian Durant with space. Picks a Paddle for Dundee United. A chance to make it 1-0 and he's done it! Derek Ferguson's cross. Head flick on by Ian Ferguson and there's Mark Walters!
Rangers away to Dunfermline today, Celtic home to Falkirk. Don't forget we have a live match of the day tomorrow, BBC One, 3 o'clock.
Motherwell against Hearts, just to remind you, is not being played today. Pitch is frozen at Fir Park, so that game is off, Motherwell against Hearts. There's a morning...
well, yes, absolutely. Mind you, this show is live, folks. The only thing that's repeating is the sausage sandwich that I had in the canteen. But you've been away golfing, haven't you?
No, taking in the football.
You've been away golfing with Bobby Robson and all that crowd, haven't you? Roger Hunt, he had to come back, and the pools panel's not even sitting. Bad luck, Rog. Never mind.
Well, the Pools panel are not sit today because there's only one match off, Jim. And that is up in Scotland. My old team, Motherwell, my hometown, getting bad weather. The Motherwell against Hearts. Yeah. That match is off. Right, but now for the action.
Did you win any golf?
No.
Okay.
Well, we begin in Bucharest, where Rangers face former European champion Steaua, looking for a tight result to take back to Ibrox for the second leg of their European Cup tie. Sadly, it was not to be.
Passed over Bumbescu at the far post. Back from Ungurianu. Desperate moments these for Rangers. Jovan. Munro trying to get there. Pitzuka. Stabbed it in. So inside 2 minutes. Joy for the Romanian crowd, and Rangers in all sorts of trouble. They never got it away. And deflected and in. Laid off by Hagi for Jovan. And Woods left helpless.
I mean, that wall was all over the place. Now, you watched the game live, Jim. Were Rangers unlucky?
No, I don't think they were. In fact, I think they were a trifle lucky just to get away with 2, Ian, to be honest. I think they could have easily conceded another one, which would have put it beyond their reach.
Well, I do know that Chris Woods played well. I mean, by all reports.
Chris Woods had an outstanding game, and it was lucky for Rangers that he did. That free kick was all over the place, and it was a good save, because Bobby Robson wasn't there to see it. He was golfing with you in Spain, Sade. But
I'll tell
him, pass the message on next time you're on the 18th green. Another great saved by Woods, who did have an outstanding game. To me, the Rangers' defence looked all over the place. It looked at any time throughout the game that Steaua were going to break them down and score again. And I think they were a little bit lucky to get away with not giving away a penalty there. So by and large, I think they got out of jail a little bit, to be honest.
Well, it was a surprising team selection. Ali McCoist playing only, what, 8 days after having a cartilage, Jim. Now, I mean, surely, I've had that same operation, and I can't see how he could have been fit.
That was his only half chance throughout the game. I think Graham Souness tactically played it all wrong. I mean, if he's going to play one man up the field, he may as well play a defender, because all McCoist did, unfortunately for him, was to tackle defenders. And really, I think he probably should have left him on the sideline, because, as you say, it's psychologically, it's a hard job to get over, isn't it?
There was a bit of problems with the press, Graham Souness and the press, because he didn't tell them that McCoist would play, although they say, the Scottish press say that he told the English press. And it's caused quite a bit of confrontation with Graham Souness.
Well, I can't understand this with modern managers, and I think Graham's at fault here. I mean, our old boys would never, who we played for, used to give the team out to everybody, and no one could complain. And I just don't understand what's going on. I think management has got to adopt a better attitude towards the media than it has.
Well done, Jim. I agree with that. Well, the other big match in the European Cup, Bayern Munich versus Real Madrid, with Mark Hughes starring for the Germans.
And just away, there were several heads up for it. It was a Real Madrid one which got there crucially. Flugler drives it in, and Flugler has given Bayern Munich the lead. 45 minutes still to come, of course, and the first half not yet finished. As Kugel takes it up and puts in an intelligent low cross. Hughes trying to knock it back to someone into the space, and the chances of a second. And Bayern Munich go 2 up, and it's all happening now. Here the ball is rolling to the back of the striker, and it's number 3. Just inside the penalty area, what a mistake, and Butragueño has pulled one back for Real Madrid. A catastrophic error in the back there by Bayern Munich. But Munich have put themselves under pressure here. They really sat back, having scored the 3rd goal. They've conceded 1. Now Sanchez will hit it in low. Oh, and it's gone right under Pfaff, and it's gone in. What a dramatic finish here.
Well, I did watch that game live, Jim.
In the bar at the golf club.
In the clubhouse. And they did get out of jail a little bit.
God, did they just, didn't it? Eh?
But, I mean, that set it up lovely for the second leg.
As indeed. Well, it must put them back as favourites now, mustn't it?
Now, Mark Hughes playing in the game, Jim, and there's been a lot of talk about Hughes coming back to this country at the end of this season, because, as you know, he's only on loan at the moment from Barcelona to Bayern, and there's talking about Manchester United and Everton. There's a couple of the big clubs that might take him. He showed good control here, and a lovely little ball.
This was an outstanding ball, wasn't it? He held it up, and waited to the right moment before knocking it in, and gave a wonderful opportunity for the goal.
I think he's getting his confidence back a bit, Jim, because at one time he certainly looked to me as if he'd lost all that.
I think he lost everything. I think he lost his rhythm originally at Manchester United because he knew he was going, and he needs to get the confidence back because he is a good player.
I think he'd have nicked that one there. The other follower getting
in
front of him, but he's following up, and he's looking lively again.
That's right.
Right. Now, Liverpool were playing over in Spain.
That's right.
I didn't see that.
You didn't see that?
I didn't see that.
They
were
did
playing
Bobby Robson.
Osasuna in Samuel Lee's testimonial game.
Oh, yeah.
A lovely goal by Ray Houghton, this, Jim.
Well,
beautiful goal.
He's playing well now for them, isn't he? He's fitted in very well.
And then an unusual sight. The player-manager.
Yes.
Coming on as a rub-a-dub. And it was nice to see him playing again. And, of course,
really.
One thing about Dalglish, you can't keep him out of the headlines. Because there he is. Nice little tap in, scoring a goal, 2-0 to Liverpool.
Thing is, now, he's got a problem. If he don't get in the team, does he transfer himself?
Well, but the thing today is they play Queen's Park Rangers on the plastic today, and they just need 2 more games, Jim, for the record.
For the record, that's
so
right.
That's good.
That's smashing.
So the border is not just in Glasgow. Edinburgh too is buzzing, with first Hearts and now Hibs making their mark.
A very good evening to you and welcome. Coins scored the only goal of the game against Morton. Dundee 1, Morton nothing. And Hibs and Dundee United, no scoring draw there at Easter Road, and the same at Love Street between St Mirren and Aberdeen. So the Premier League looks like this tonight. Celtic and Rangers separated by 6 points. Aberdeen, Hearts, Dundee United all trailing behind. And the quickest goal of the day was scored by Steve Moore's Queen of the South in exactly 20 seconds, would you believe? Let me recommend this little publication. It's a local one, and it's for local charities, the local hospitals, in fact. It's called Leishman's Lines, the roaring success story, with Jim right in the middle, looking a little bit like Eddie the Eagle soaring into outer space. I really commend it to you for a good cause and for a very proud club. From all of us at East End Park, a very good night.
Linked with Rangers for 25 years as a both player and manager, he made his name with skills like these.
Greg, he's never been out of your picture in the last 10 minutes. Backstab. John Gregg. Whoa, what a goal!
Greg might think about a shot. Plays a shot, one. Greg still going and scoring!
Ladies and gentlemen, my great friend, John Gregg. Some clips, eh?
Shows you how long ago it was. It was in black and white, one of them. Mind you, but pure brilliant.
Pure dead brilliant, aye. What tickled me about the last two, the colour ones, were the sideburns. You must have done a lot of burn suppers in these days, did you? Eh?
I don't know about the burn suppers.
But you've got, really, looking back in your career, you played for over 20 years. You must have some happy memories, you know, of the playing days.
That's the happiest days of your life, really. I think if you make a living playing at a sport, you know, you get paid for it. I think that must be the happiest days of anybody's life.
Yeah.
And obviously playing for a club like Rangers for as long and travelling all over the world, you have some tremendous memories.
Of course, I remember one night sitting at a hotel in London, the White House, and he and I come up the stairs at Wembley weekend, and it's the old story, you know, we've had a few hot chocolates, shall we say, before we retired, and there was a fridge in the room, and he says, open the fridge, wee man, see if there's any vodka in it, you know. And of course, you open it and about 4 bottles of vodka for it. He says, put a couple of oranges in it and we'll have a wee blather. So we're sitting on top of the beds, single beds, I hasten to add. We've got the vodka and orange, what else with him and I? And I said, what about these trips abroad? Well, about 4 hours later, I've got jet lag. I've been all over the world. But that was a great night because what came across to me was how much the players enjoyed themselves, you know, the practical jokes and things like that.
Yeah, well, we're always playing tricks on each other, you know, and you've got to remember some of these trips, you're away for about 4 weeks.
Yeah.
And it's a different story playing every day at training a guy, but when you've got to stay with him for 4 weeks, it's completely different. The one situation, I was probably involved in a lot of them because I was captain of the team and everything, and I was always a bit of a prankster.
Yeah.
But there was one particular game, Scotland played England at Hampden, and my old pal, Tam Forsyth, who was a ball player like myself.
Yeah. You laughing at?
The one
didn't know she was a Celtic supporter.
I have to laugh very loud.
It's okay, pick a window, you're leaving. Anyway, Big Tam was involved in this controversial situation the day before because Tommy Docherty had said he was a cab horse in comparison with Martin Buchan being a Rolls Royce and shouldn't have been in the Scottish team. Anyway, the big man played brilliant on a Saturday, and we left to go to Vancouver the next day, and we were bored stiff in this plane, and Big Tam was a wee bit worried about the situation. So Derek Johnson and I thought we'd play a wee trick on him. So we got a hold of the head purser on the plane, and I says to him, explained the whole situation to him. He says, well, what would you like to do? I says, can I speak to him on intercom? He says, certainly. He says, I'll put him in the first gangway there. He says, you take the one at the back of the plane. So he got Big Tam to the phone, like you say, and I says, Mr. Forsyth, I says, this is Jim Brown from the Daily Mirror in Manchester. I'd just like to speak to you about last week. And he says, just a minute. And I thought he was going to say, hey, Greg, away you going? You know. So he says, how did you get this number? So I kept him going for a wee while, and he says, this call must be costing you a fortune. So I says, well, there's £200 in it. Give us your wife's name and address, and I'll send it to her. He says, oh, don't do that. He says, send it to Vancouver. Anyway, it backfired on me, because that was the first day of a 4-week trip, and I was absolutely knackered going up and down the stairs in the hotels we stayed in. I couldn't go in an elevator. If I'd went in an elevator on my own, the big Tammy came in, he would have killed me. But we used to do all these type of things.
Yeah.
You know?
But you played, and that was a great goal against Italy in the World Cup qualifier. But I think the most memorable game, certainly from the fans' point of view, you were involved in it, was Scotland beating England 3-2 at Wembley. The first team to beat them after they'd stolen the World Cup the year before.
Yeah, and being Scotsmen, that was us unofficial world champions, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's
Until
it.
we got beat with Zimbabwe or something about 4 months later. But that, yeah, it was a marvellous game. I think that was one of the most ironic